This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
When the safety of our world is threatened, we often have to rely on the knowledge and skill of strangers to survive. I'm William Shatner. Tonight on Rescue 911, true stories of teamwork and commitment in the face of extraordinary odds. We begin on June 28, 1992, in the skies above Southern California, as Danny Sadik and his father-in-law, Bill Nelson, were flying in an experimental aircraft to the town of Big Bear.
That was the first day that Danny and Dad had gone up in the plane. And, of course, that was the day of the earthquake, the big earthquake.
Around 8 a.m. that morning, a large earthquake struck the town of Big Bear, causing widespread damage.
That quake seems to be in the 7.0 category. It certainly felt that way. Most of the damage we've had...
It was very busy. We had major road closures on all 3 roads leading into and out of the Big Bear Valley. Telephone communications were down, and it knocked our communication out here at the Sheriff's Dispatch Center.
We were literally running back-to-back calls for reports of chimneys down, buildings down, had people that had strokes, everything you can imagine. And for a small paramedic service, you know, we weren't ready to handle that number of calls.
When Danny landed his plane in Big Bear and he and his father-in-law saw the extent of the damage, they decided to fly back home to Escondido.
I was a little afraid when he first told the family that he was going to build an airplane. But Dan is a very intelligent man, and I have a lot of confidence in him.
Sheriff's Deputy Robert Copley was on his way into work early to help with the town's rescue operations.
He's having a real hard time.
Myself and my wife stopped alongside the runway. And being a pilot myself, I noticed this aircraft, it was having difficulty climbing out.
He doesn't have any runway now.
I watched him cross over the end of the runway, and he was still having difficulty climbing. I told my wife he was definitely going to crash.
Barry Grant and his wife Ann were vacationing in Big Bear.
I saw 2 fellows on the side of the road kind of looking in the air, pointing.
They're looking at something. What are they looking at?
And then he drove a little further, and there was a break in the trees, and he said, Ian, there's something down over there.
I'm a pilot, and my eye keenly picked up the blue and white tip of the wing. I knew immediately as soon as I saw just that tip. That's an airplane down. Somebody's down.
Danny Sadik and his father-in-law had been on their way home in an experimental aircraft Danny had built when the plane crashed in an open field. Off-duty sheriff's deputy, Robert Copley, had seen the plane go down and radioed from his pickup truck for help. Much of the footage was taped as the events unfolded.
I went to the far side, which was the pilot's side, but the pilot looked to me as if he was not alive.
Okay, don't try to move. Barry directed me to the passenger, and I glanced over there at the pilot. I thought that I saw bubbles in the blood in his mouth, and so I thought, I think he's alive. Okay. You're going to be okay.
No. You need to cut him out.
I'm a nurse in an operating room, and I think he was real close to dead when we got there.
Okay, you want to cut him out? Okay.
Yeah, cut him out.
Hold on, let me get under here. Hold on, let me get it good. Hold on.
I was concerned about his spinal cord, but the back of the neck weren't going to matter if we didn't get him to breathe.
1, 2, 3,
Go.
go.
Right here. Get under
Go. Go. Bring down. Bring down.
Okay, let him go out. Get him close. Cover him for shot. You're going to make it. I was concerned that if I move this blood clot that's around his nose, am I going to get more of a gush if this is arterial? But I elected to move the blood away to get some air through.
Just gently. Take some deep breaths. That's it. Good. Okay, good.
He was pretty much unconscious, but he would breathe when we told him to.
Okay, good. Deep breaths. Just gently, honey.
What do you got on
But he wasn't getting good air exchange, and I remember thinking I would have given my right arm for some suction.
Good, buddy. You're going to be okay.
The passenger was probably in shock because he didn't really know where he was. He didn't realize that he was even in the airplane or that it had crashed.
When the first emergency workers arrived on the scene, they began working to free the passenger.
Michael, a little heavy. Don't let this. I got it back here. Wait, I got the safety belts on. Oh! Okay. Hey, release it. You got the scissors? Get it. That's the way. Turn it. Turn that. Good. Good job.
Within 7 minutes, paramedic Jim Higbee arrived with the Bear Valley Rescue Units and began to treat the pilot, Danny.
It looked like he'd taken out the windshield with his head. The fact that they pulled him out might have saved his life. Keeping his mouth open and letting the blood flow out to the side might have been all they could do. And he needed aggressive suctioning because he was literally drowning in his own blood.
Hey, let's get some people over here. We need some help lifting him. We got a backboard coming right now? Right behind you. Yeah, right there. All right. Oh, that left leg!
I was amazed. Everybody, as they came, just seemed to mesh right into and be able to work together so well.
Can you feel this? Yeah, up in that area. Can you feel this? I don't feel it. Okay, move it over. 1, 2.
There was a helicopter on the way, but it was delayed, and I just really felt that his golden hour was going down the drain. Once the blood pressure starts bottoming out, then that's a late and grave sign. It means there's no return from that usually.
Because of the earthquake, no medical helicopters were available, so a sheriff's helicopter was arranged to transport both victims. Their wives were notified.
Danny was in critical condition. They were real concerned about Dad. They were afraid that the aorta was torn, and so they were talking about open heart surgery. It was really bad. It was like a dream, a nightmare. And you don't know what's going to happen, but you hope that you can go through and not break down.
Danny was admitted to San Bernardino County Medical Center under the care of neurosurgeon Margaret Wacker.
When Danny was in the field and not breathing well, he wasn't getting oxygen to his brain. That could cause people to have a lot of brain injury.
He's got some fractures around his face, around the base of his skull.
She told me that he could lose his memory and his personality could change and his judgment could be affected.
Sometimes I think that only
The thing that scared me the most was that he might not remember me.
Bill Nelson's leg was badly broken. His internal injuries proved to be minor. By the next day, his wife Marty could already see improvement.
Bill looked like he had just woken up from a nap. He had bruises on his body, but he didn't look that bad to me at all. Oh, what a relief. What an absolute relief.
What happened?
But he didn't remember anything. And I go, you've been in an air crash, honey. You were in an airplane crash. He goes, airplane crash? He didn't know anything about it. He didn't remember anything.
For 3 days, Kathy Sadik saw no sign that her husband Danny was going to recover.
The kids send their love.
I was in there most of the time. Dad's doing really good. I just told him who I was and that we loved him, and he's got to pull through. When we used to hold hands, he used to rub my nail, my thumbnail. It used to really bug me. I hated it because it hurt. And so I'd always pull my hand away and say, stop. But he started doing that. And I was glad he remembered me.
It's been 6 months since the accident that changed Danny Sadek's life.
I want to take her over where she can.
I take things a little bit more cautiously, and I come to the realization that your life can be snuffed out in an instant. I'm more appreciative of my family, my kids, and I'm really sorry that I put my family through all that trauma and that sorrow that they had to go through.
Bill Nelson has also been affected.
Life is a precious thing. Every day you live, make it the best day, because you may never get another chance to be able to share a thought or share your love with somebody.
Recently, Danny and Bill got a chance to personally thank Barry and Ann Grant for helping to save their lives.
I'm glad that the first people to me was a nurse and another pilot.
Boy, you're tall when you're standing up.
They were there. The right place at the right time. You couldn't have chose anybody else that could have done what they did.
It was real exciting to meet them and see their emotion at meeting us.
Oh, bless your heart.
And instantly I feel as though I know and love these people.
We owe everyone a lot that took care of him. The medical personnel and everyone were really wonderful, especially Ann and Barry for being there, because I'm sure he would have died.
You're special people, and don't you ever forget it. You're very special, and we'll never forget you, believe me.